A big hello to all my Agilist friends. My name is Christelle from Richmond, Texas, United States. Working as Scrum Master from last 4 years. Today we are going to discuss Scrum Master interview questions and answers for beginner, intermediate, and advanced Scrum Master. So let's start. Number 1. Explain the importance of Agile. Answer: Agile is a process of managing a complex software development activity into manageable tasks by developing features based on priority and importance on multiple iterations. Scrum and Kanban are well-known methodologies used in the software industries for delivering features quickly, with better quality and scope for changes if suggested by the client. Frequent inspection, adaptation, rapid delivery, align with client needs are some features of Agile that make it important. Number 2. Describe Scrum. Answer: It is an Agile framework that helps organization, teams, and people to develop software development adaptive to market needs or requirement changes that involves product being developed with continuous learning and lightweight planning. Scrum reveals the effectiveness of current management, environment, and work techniques to improve the process. Number 3. Explain Scrum framework. Answer: It is an Agile project management framework used to develop, deliver and sustain software products to the customers. Scrum framework adapts to changes in client requirements, develops software through a series of iterations, known as sprint, and delivers a more frequent, quicker, and high-quality product with flexibility for change. Number 4. Describe the responsibilities of the Scrum Master. Answer: Scrum Master works with the product owner and follows activities. Mentor the members of the team about their roles and contribution to the team, impart understanding about Agile processes and how to implement them while working, sense of product ownership, and self-management in the team. Organize daily stand-up meets to get the updates about allocated tasks to the team members, task completed, the task scheduled today, and any obstacles to the member during work. Share information about product backlog. This includes a list of work that needs to be accomplished by the team to the product owner. Remove obstacles/roadblocks like attending meetings etc. by team members that prevent them concentrate on their task. Monitor Scrum principles and practices are followed by team members during development activities. Number 5. Describe Scrum artifacts. Answer: Scrum artifacts are used by the Scrum team and stakeholders to describe products under development, actions taken to develop the product, and in the entire project. Product backlog, sprint backlog, and increments are some of the important artifacts used during a Scrum. Product backlog: It is a cross-team backlog of activities such as bug fixes, enhancements, new features, tasks, and activities required to build a product like development and testing. The list of the product backlog is maintained by the product owner between sprint cycles and is expected to get completed during the sprint. Sprint backlog: It is the list of product backlog tasks that are carried over to the next product increment. These are created by breaking down product backlog into manageable minor tasks that can be completed in sprint intervals. If not completed, it can be carried to the next sprint. Product increment: It is a combination of previous sprint increments and customer deliverables that were achieved by completing product backlog activities/tasks. Product increments are useful in version tracking and rollback in continuous integration and development. Burn down chart: These are graphs calibrated that display completed tasks over sprint duration. This helps in evaluating active execution velocity, if expectations from the team are met or not during the sprint of the team. Number 6. Explain Scrum Sprint and its duration. Answer. Scrum Sprint is a fixed interval of 4 weeks or fewer that commences immediately after the previous sprint concludes. Sprint planning, daily scrums, sprint review, and retrospective are the activities carried out in the sprint. The product backlog is refined. Clarification on the scope can be negotiated with the product owner with no changes that affect sprint goal or decrease the product quality. Number 7. List 5 phases of risk management. Answer. Following are phases for risk management. Identify risk. Measure risk. Examine risk. Implement risk. Monitor result. Number 8. Describe the user story. Answer. User stories explain the outline for the desired outcome expected from the perspective of the end user. User stories in Agile frameworks such as Scrum and Kanban are added into sprint backlog and run via workflow. User stories help in estimation, and sprint planning brings more agility and accurate forecasting on the completion of these backlogs. It allows the team to work together, think critically to serve the user, and solve the goal. Number 9. What are the tools used in Scrum project? Answer. The various tools used include ZPL, project management that helps create user stories, enhancements, bugs, tasks, draw burn-down charts, has integration with GitHub, GitLab, etc. Jira, custom Scrum/Kanban boards that list backlog tasks for the team, roadmaps that outline the project plans are a few features of Jira that can be used in the Scrum. Zoho sprints, based on priority tasks that can be assigned, log time tracks down paid and unpaid hours to the team. GitHub, versioning software that helps in code stored in one place, task coordination, attaching comprehensive documents on the product features are few features that GitHub helps in the Scrum. Kanbanize, it has a built-in design feature for Kanban boards, work in progress, WIP, limits and agile reporting. Q. Number 10. Explain the importance of time boxing in the Scrum. Answer. All activities in the Scrum framework are of fixed intervals. The amount of time is defined and is dedicated to an activity which is termed as time boxing. Any particular activity should be completed in the defined time period. There will be a deadline for each task. It is introduced so that team uses their time productively. For example, the sprint is of time box of 1 month or less. Number 11. Explain estimation in the Scrum project. Answer. Entire Scrum team will be involved in the estimation of tasks assigned to them and how will they be able to deliver during the time box of the sprint. The product owner will break down the user stories into small tasks/activities that can be completed, make sure that activity is clearly understood, and assign for the sprint based on the priority. There are various techniques used during Scrum estimation. Planning poker. T-shirt sizes. Dot voting. The bucket system. Large/uncertain/small. Affinity mapping. Ordering method. Number 12. What is the purpose of daily Scrum? Answer. Daily stand-up Scrum meeting is essential in order to verify the progress towards the goal for the sprint. Track work completed from the sprint backlog. Update upcoming work can be planned accordingly. Validate that everyone has visibility and is aligned with what is going on. Number 13, list the common risks in the Scrum projects. Answer: there are common risks involved with any Agile/Scrum project. The list is as given below. Budget risk: the project may become expensive based on client changing requirements. Scope creep: changes in requirement may extend the timeline, deliverables, and cost of the project. Risk of not adhering to Agile principles: the members of the team may have not understood the principles of Agile. Project may not be suitable for Agile. There can be a deviation in processes adopted that is different from the Agile process. Less predictability: in order to fulfill client demands, the costing of the project might become unpredictable. Lack of Agile compliance staff: Scrum Masters have to mentor each of the team members and make sure they are following Agile processes. Sudden stopping of work: the product being developed may not remain suitable for the market and have to rethink the project. Technical debt: the technical resources in the team may leave the organization during the Scrum interval. Number 14, what are the advantages of Scrum methodology? Answer: following are the advantages. Products developed using Scrum methodology are of higher quality. The Scrum team operates in a highly efficient manner. Efficient utilization of sprint interval and financial resources during project development. Re-verification of product before releasing in order to resolve any flaw that may come across. User stories are divided into smaller, manageable, and easier tasks that can be completed in a given sprint interval. Daily Scrum meetings engage team members, track progress in each iteration, obstacles can be removed, tasks are completed as per their priority. Number 15, what are the disadvantages of Scrum methodology? Answer: disadvantages include: project work can be extended longer with customer requirements or change requests, as Scrum does not have a predefined definite timeline and work. Difficulty adapting Scrum methodology. Scrum members work independently. No micromanagement of assigned tasks by Scrum Master or Product Owner. Difficulty understanding of Scrum process or methods. Due to limited sprint, the Scrum team does not test their product feature aggressively, resulting in inferior product quality. It is difficult to document or address every member with a large team. Number 16, what is the definition of done in Scrum? Answer: in Scrum, when a product backlog item, activity, or an increment is termed as done. In short, done means releasable. DoD, definition of done in case of product development comprises business or functional requirements, quality, and non-functional requirements. Number 17, explain velocity in the Scrum. Answer: it is a conversion indication of the average amount of product backlog into increment during a sprint by Scrum team members. The product owner can estimate how quickly a team can work through the product backlog during the sprint. It depends on the size of tasks at hand and that can differ from team to team and reference points. Number 18, describe a minimum viable product, MVP. Answer: MVP is a development technique when a new product with basic features is introduced in the market, just enough to get consumer attention. After sufficient feedback from the end user's final product is released with improvisation. Understanding customers' interest in your product without full development is one benefit of MVP. Based on the response, you can decide on how much to spend if the product will succeed in the market. A product designed with minimum required features shown to stakeholders and its level of readiness to be shipped for production is a minimum viable product. Number 19. List the elements of a good user story. Answer: following are some elements. It is mandatory to have a user for the user story. User stories should be small and simple. A qualifying value statement should be present in user stories. Acceptance criteria for the product should be one checklist of requirements for user stories. Making user stories user-centric, user stories should capture information that the user is looking for in simple sentences. The major elements of the user story are role, goal, and reason. Number 20. Who should take part in a sprint retrospective? Answer: entire Scrum team, including the product owner and Scrum Master, should attend the sprint retrospective meet. Sprint retrospective help to discuss and identify the previous sprint, like what went well in the sprint, what could be improved, and what are the steps to be considered in order to improve the next sprint. Number 21. List the steps to tackle boredom during the sprint retrospective. Answer: team retrospective meet can become boring, as there can be arguments and blame on another team instead of working towards improving processes. The feeling of working together can help resolve team-level impediments. Organization-level obstacles can be escalated to the next level for resolution. Appreciate the good work team has accomplished and the steps to prevent any impediments in the next sprint. It is essential to confirm that all stakeholders are available and attend this meeting. The work related to sprint should not get affected. The time of the meeting should be arranged based on how many time zones are involved to accommodate remote teams across various continents. Number 22. What are the steps taken to follow up on action items? Answer: follow up on action items discussed in the meetings need the following steps. After the meeting concludes, follow up on action items being assigned and discussed during the meet begins. The minutes of the meeting that include a summary of the meeting should be circulated to the attendees. Mail sent should include a list of action items, the name of the person task assigned to, and deadlines. The person who owns the task should report back with an approximate date of completion of the task for each of the tasks assigned. Number 23. How do you measure the value of the user stories? Answer: the importance of the user story from the customer's perspective can be evaluated from its business value. The matrix used in order to measure the value of user stories has the following effect: improved revenue and rate of customer satisfaction. The rise in sign-ups, increase in cost-cutting through the process of improvement. Increase positive customer response. Number 24. What is the contribution of the Scrum team in sprint planning? Answer: the contributions of each team resource is described below. The product owner explains the objective of the sprint and a list of backlog items that should be completed in the sprint. The development team will plan how the items in the backlog in the sprint will get completed based on value and effort to accomplish these tasks. The Scrum Master will conduct daily stand-ups, overview the progress in converting product backlogs into deliverables, remove any impediment that reduces productivity, participate in sprint reviews and retrospective meetings. The Scrum Master helps streamline and enhance processes for the Scrum teams to achieve their goals. Number 25. What are the challenges faced as a Scrum Master? Answer: following are challenges Scrum Masters have to overcome on a regular basis. Educate and monitor members of the Scrum team for Agile principles and processes, as these members may not be familiar with the Scrum environment. Sprint is time-boxed and user stories are divided into small achievable activities. In this sprint, Scrum Masters have to keep motivating the Scrum team to achieve goals within the sprint. Schedule meetings and invite members to various Scrum events for members across a different time zone. Reply to various requirements from different managers on productivity, results, statistics, business value, and success. Number 26. How to identify areas of improvement as a Scrum Master. Answer: as a Scrum Master, you can work on the following areas to improve Scrum team velocity. During daily stand-ups, make sure the team is focused on the achieving goal for the sprint. Remove distractions that prevent team members from performing. Involve product owner in case team is not clear with user stories, how to implement and test them. That will help to differentiate between not understanding requirement and defects. Appreciate the team for the benefits they bring to the product owner and stakeholders. Verify that team completes one thing at a time, rather than start multiple activities and not finish any of them. Implement what was learned from the retrospective. Find the ways of improving team collaboration. Break user stories into smaller activities that are easily achievable, making it faster for the team to complete. Number 27. What is the definition of a release candidate? Answer: version of software or set of product features that is functional but not ready for the market yet is known as a release candidate. The functionality of the feature has been tested properly in the final release. However, serious bugs may surface when exposed to a real-time production environment, like multiple users accessing applications during peak time. Number 28. Explain Scrum's story point. Answer: it is difficult to estimate the time that may take to complete assigned tasks during the sprint, which is in time format like days, weeks, and months. Story points are units of measure for expressing estimate of overall efforts required by team members to complete implementation of the product backlog item. Team assigns story points based on complexity, amount of work, and risk of uncertainty. Number 29. Explain the difference between burn up and burn down chart. Answer: the definition below will explain the difference between them. Burn up chart, the tool that can calibrate the amount of work completed versus total product backlog, work pending for the sprint. Burn down chart, it is a graph that shows how quickly user stories are being worked upon. It displays the total efforts involved by the development team against the total amount of work for each of the iterations. Number 30. State some of the Agile quality strategies. Answer: some of the Agile quality strategies are: iteration, refactoring, dynamic code analysis, short feedback cycles, reviews and inspection, standards and guidelines, milestone reviews. Number 31. When should a Scrum Master not act as a facilitator? Answer: the Scrum Master's job, according to the accepted methodology, is to assist the team in achieving the best results possible. It can be challenging to facilitate the learning process for internal and external workshops. When discussing subjects, a workshop facilitator must remain objective and refrain from introducing facts or opinions to the debate. You already have all you need to facilitate the essential product development seminars if you have the requisite experience. Nevertheless, you should not lead the workshop if it is about modifying your firm's Scrum process. Number 31, user stories are assigned to team members by a product owner. What are your views on this? Answer: product owners and Scrum Masters must work together to balance the requirements to provide product changes as rapidly as possible and maintain a highly productive workforce. The Scrum Master's job is to demonstrate to the product owner why such activities are so disruptive to the balance. The product owner indirectly argues that they know better than the team who is the perfect candidate for the task when allocating user stories to specific team members. This is rarely the case because the product owner doesn't work directly with the team every day and does not have an intimate understanding of the team's inner workings. Furthermore, because Scrum teams are supposed to self-organize, such activities may undermine the team's drive. Number 32, how will the Scrum Master ensure that the team meets its deadline for the completion of action items? Answer: to have a successful sprint, the team must first identify action items. This gives the group a place to start talking, but merely listing things isn't enough. The Scrum Master must take steps to deliver and end the action items as quickly as possible. Each action item should be assigned to an owner, and team members should prevent assigning multiple owners to a particular element because ownership is diluted. The Scrum Master should record action items in a software or spreadsheet everybody on the team may access. It is also helpful to have a backlog of action plans since it enables the firm to prioritize. Number 33, how do you overcome stakeholder resistance? Answer: we may overcome stakeholder opposition by listening to them profoundly rather than just on the surface. You must postpone your resistance to the stakeholders' verdict. You must first recognize and appreciate the other points of view before comprehending why they differ from you. All of these techniques rely on one key principle: two-way dialogue. The job of a Scrum Master is not only to get buy-in from stakeholders but also to convey the business benefits of the Scrum. Listening to stakeholder issues, reassuring them, and closing the feedback loop are essential to effectively overcoming stakeholder resistance. Number 34, what does confidence vote signify in Scrum? What is the significance of this? Answer: after the risk assessment at the program increment (PI) planning session, the confidence vote is held. It is when the entire team gets together and raises their hands and votes with their thumbs on their confidence level in completing the PI targets. The confidence vote may only be utilized once all features and user stories have been adequately estimated and prioritized. Every step of the process must be clear to all relevant parties, with all connections and risks clearly outlined. You may create a positive work environment and gather team members' honest feedback by conducting a vote of confidence session. It improves team spirit since team members feel valued. Number 35, how do you determine a Scrum team's capacity and velocity? Answer: the number of complete story points in prior sprints is averaged to determine velocity. The capacity, how many product backlog items the group should take for the upcoming sprint, is determined by velocity. Capacity indicates how much time the team has available for the upcoming sprint. If all other factors remain constant, the capacity must match the velocity. However, a few reasons can reduce capacities, such as vacations, sick days, new team onboarding, and other ad hoc workplace activities or meetings. One should consider all of these factors when estimating the team's potential for progress. Number 36, is there any drawback of the Agile model? If yes, explain. Answer: yes, There are some drawbacks of the Agile model. Some of them are as follows. It is not easy to make a prediction about the effort required to complete a task. It becomes more problematic in case of large projects as it becomes difficult to get an idea of the total effort required. At some times, it's not possible to properly focus on the design and documentation of the project. In case the requirements of the client are not understood properly, the final project will not meet the customer requirements. Thus, it will lead to the customer dissatisfaction. Only the leader who has considerable experience in Agile methodologies is capable to take important decisions. The team members with little or no experience are not involved in decision-making, thus they don't get chance to advance their knowledge. Number 37. Explain some common metrics for Agile. Answer. You may definitely come across Agile Scrum interview questions regarding Agile metrics. The question may be related to a particular Agile metric or explaining all the metrics. So, the detailed description of some common metrics for Agile is as follows. Velocity. Velocity is the average number of points from last 3 to 4 sprints. It is measured by the summation of the all-approved estimates of the stories. It gives an idea of the capacity, progress, etc. Cumulative flow diagram. With the help of a cumulative flow diagram, an inspection is done over the uniform workflow. In this diagram/graph, the x-axis represents time whereas the y-axis represents the number of efforts. Work category allocation. Work category allocation is an important factor that gives a quick information of the time investment, i.e., where the time is being invested and which task should be given priority as a factor of time. Time coverage. It is the time that is given to a code during testing. It is calculated in percentage as a factor of the number of lines of code called by the test suite and the total number of relative lines of code. Business value delivered. It is a term which denotes the working efficiency of the team. The business objectives are assigned numerical values 1, 2, 3, and so on, as per the level of priority, complexity, and ROI. Defect removal awareness. It is the factor that helps the team to deliver a quality product. The identification of an active number of defects, their awareness, and removal plays an important role in delivering a high-quality product. Defect resolution time. It is a procedure through which the team members detect the defects, bugs, and set a priority for the defect resolution. The procedure of fixing errors/bugs or defect resolution comprises of multiple processes such as clearing the picture of defect, schedule defect fixation, completing defect fixation, generation, and handling of resolution report. Sprint burn down metric. The sprint burn down chart is a graph to represent the number of non-implemented or implemented sprints during a Scrum cycle. This metric helps to track the work completed with the sprint. Number 38. Is it ever suggested to use waterfall over Scrum? If yes, explain when. Answer. Yes, sometimes it is suggested to use a waterfall model over Scrum. It is done when the customer requirements are simple, well-defined, fully understood, predictable, and are not subjected to change until the completion of the project. It may be the case that you haven't ever used waterfall over Scrum, but you need to prepare for such Agile Scrum interview questions. Number 39. Have you ever performed the removal of impediments as a Scrum Master on behalf of Scrum team? Answer. As the Scrum Master acts as a coach for his team, he should motivate his team to perform every task. Although he can remove impediments on behalf of Scrum team, but he should not do this. It is recommended for a Scrum Master not to over-pamper nor overrule the team. There may be something when the team can face failure. At that time the Scrum Master should help them. He should guide them with an appropriate method 𝐑𝐄𝐀 get out of the problem. Scrum Master should prompt his team members to become independent enough to face problems and take a decision by themselves. Number 40. What are MVP and MMP? Minimum Viable Product, MVP, is a lean startup concept that stresses the impact of learning while performing product development. This allows one to test and understand the idea by getting exposed to the initial version for target customers and users. To accomplish this, one has to collect all the relevant data and learn from that collected data. The thought behind MVP is to produce the product, to provide access to the users, and to observe how the product is used, perceived, and understood. This will also provide more insight towards what the customers or users' needs are. The MMP, Minimal Marketable Product, refers to the description of the product, which will have a minimal number of features that address the requirement of the users. The MMP would also help the organization reduce the time to market. Number 41. How would you handle conflict within the team? Giving individual coaching to team members is one of the most effective strategies to resolve a problem. It is imperative for a Scrum Master to maintain positive relationships with team members and provide guidance when they face challenges. For a Scrum Master, paying attention to the source of the problem and listening and acting accordingly would go a long way. Any disagreements should be shared with other team members in a manner that they would be open to suggestions for resolving the issue. When a conflict arises, the Scrum Master must intervene so that the process runs smoothly and without hiccups. The following steps help in handling conflicts within the team. Step 1. Scene setting. First, we must determine the source of the team's quarrel. Before taking any action, it is necessary to understand the discrepancy between two groups or two persons. In times of dispute, Scrum Masters typically react aggressively against team members in the hopes of resolving the conflict on their own. However, while this may temporarily cure the problem, it does not address any underlying concerns. The Scrum Master must lead the team and teach them that disagreement is a regular occurrence in the workplace and it can be resolved with assertiveness. It is the leader's responsibility to guarantee that team members' concerns are acknowledged and addressed. Step 2. Gathering information. Gathering facts about the conflict is usually crucial before coming to a conclusion about a certain individual or suppressing the topic. This could be accomplished by listening to each party separately and comprehending the situation from their point of view. The Scrum Master should also consider other team members' perspectives and also respect every team member's decisions. As a result, the Scrum Master must elicit everyone's assistance in order to gain a picture of the workplace conflict. Step 3. Brainstorming to find a solution. It is often impossible for the leader to resolve problems on his or her own. Furthermore, several members of the Scrum team would have better answers that would quickly remedy the problem. Organizing spontaneous group talks and sharing opinions on various activities would stimulate good discourse between the two people or groups in these situations. This would urge both sides to see things from the other's perspective. This also provides opportunities for superior ideas to be pushed and for the disparity to be bridged. Step 4. Solution conferring. Listing all of the possible answers to an issue would only be useful if those solutions were put into action. Scrum Master removes the team's roadblocks by implementing the solution in this step. Throughout the conflict resolution process, remembering to stay calm and respectful will aid in a speedier and more efficient resolution. Number 42, how would you deal with a difficult stakeholder? The 4 strategies by which we can deal with difficult stakeholders are: listen to them carefully, make an effort to comprehend their point of view. If what they say aggravates you, consider whether their needs are in line with the project's goals. Is it possible that they want things done a little differently? Make efforts to discover some common ground. People desire to be understood and to believe that their voices are heard. Estimate their motivation, try to understand the motivation behind the stakeholders' opposition. This will allow you to compromise and come up with a win-win solution and complete the project. Answer questions like, are they reporting to a board of directors that has its own reservations? What's the source of your stakeholders' sudden opposition? Are they concerned about exceeding their budget? Concerned that the project may not turn out as planned? Meet them one after another. Meeting without other stakeholders in the room relieves stress and allows the stakeholders to be more at ease. So, make time to meet with each challenging stakeholder separately. This results in interactions becoming clearer and calmer. Take advantage of this chance to learn more about their point of view and recommended solutions. However, don't ask them why they don't like your plan outright. Ask open-ended inquiries about their thoughts and how the project is moving instead. Watch the stakeholders closely by identifying them, determining the stakeholders and finding out what inspires them should be the first step. Anyone who is influenced by our work has control or influence over it or is interested in its success is referred to as a stakeholder. Number 43, what are the 3 pillars of Scrum? The 3 pillars of Scrum are summarized as: adaptation. The method being processed must be changed if an inspector determines that one or more aspects of a process are outside of permitted limits. A correction must be made as quickly as possible to avoid future deviation. Transparency. Transparency mandates that those elements be specified by a consistent standard in order for viewers to understand what they are viewing. For example, while referring to the process, all participants must use the same terminology. Those reviewing as well as those executing the job and the resulting addition must have the same definition of done. Inspection. Scrum users must check Scrum artifacts and progress toward a sprint goal on a regular basis to discover unwanted deviations. Inspections should not be carried out so frequently that they constitute a burden to their work. Inspections are most successful when skilled inspectors do them attentively at the point of work. Number 44, what do you understand about scope creep? How can scope creep be managed? Scope creep is used to describe how a project's requirements tend to grow over time, like a single deliverable product becomes 5 when a product with 3 essential features becomes 10, or when the customer's needs change midway through a project, requiring a reassessment of the project requirements. Changes in project needs from internal miscommunication and disagreements, and key stakeholders are some of the common causes of scope creep. To manage scope creep, we need to use the change control mechanism to keep it under control. This includes the following: maintaining a baseline scope and keeping track of the project's progress. To evaluate actual work performance metrics to the baseline scope, i.e., how different is the current project from the original plan, we need to perform variance analysis. Identifying the severity and source of the observed alterations. Selecting whether to take preventive or corrective action in response to requests regarding changes. To recommend actions and manage all change requests by using the Perform Integrated Change Control method, whether preventive or corrective. Number 45. What are the obstacles to the Agile process? Some of the obstacles that could be faced are not having appropriate or sufficient tools and technologies, the lack of active involvement from the customers, team members that are lacking in skills and capability, the inability to design systems based on unseen requirements, successfully adapting the Agile culture to the organization. My Scrum Master friends, that's all for today. Thanks for listening. Please do comment and let me know how you find this session.